My chosen one, stop for a second and listen. I am not whispering to your ears. I am shouting to your spirit. That heavy, suffocating restlessness you have been carrying for the last 72 hours. That sudden, desperate urge to throw a duffel bag in the trunk and just drive until the road runs out. Even if you don't have a destination on the GPS, do not suppress it. Do not let a doctor convince you it's just another spike of clinical anxiety. This is your spirit smelling the ozone before the lightning strikes. Your soul is detecting the smoke long before your physical eyes can see the flames. I am sounding the alarm because the lease on your current life has officially expired. If you stay 1 minute longer, you aren't being faithful. You're being a squatter in a house that's already marked for demolition. If you don't move now, you won't just be uncomfortable. You will be buried under the debris of a season that was never meant to be your forever. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly how to escape the fire and birth the empire I've coded into your very DNA. If you leave this video now, you might just be turning your back on the last exit ramp before the bridge collapses. Let's talk about your reality. Maybe you're 34, living in a high-rise in the heart of Chicago, or a quiet suburban home in the hills of Tennessee. You've done everything right. You've got the career, the social circle, the 5-year plan. But lately, have you noticed how thin the oxygen feels? You've checked the HVAC system in your office. You've opened the windows to let in that crisp American air, but your chest still feels like it's being crushed under a 2-ton lead plate. It's a physical sensation, a tightness in your sternum that won't go away no matter how many deep breaths you take. You check the vents, you check the weather, but everything seems normal on the outside. Yet, inside, you feel like a deep-sea diver realizing the needle on your oxygen tank is bouncing on red. This isn't a medical emergency, and it's not just the stress of a 60-hour work week. This is spiritual asphyxiation. The atmosphere in your current zip code has literally run out of oxygen for your destiny. You are a giant trying to live in a studio apartment. And the walls aren't just closing in, they are rejecting your presence because you have outgrown the container. Think about your commute this morning or the last time you walked into your favorite local coffee shop. Did the air feel different? Did the faces of people you have known for years suddenly look like strangers? You know every back road from the Pacific Coast Highway to the dirt paths of the Midwest. Yet suddenly, you feel like you're walking through a foreign land without a passport. You look at your colleagues, people you've shared Starbucks and birthdays with, and their voices sound like static. Their jokes aren't funny anymore. Their complaints about the boss feel like nails on a chalkboard. You are experiencing what I call biological rejection. Just like a body fights a heart transplant that isn't a perfect match. Your environment is beginning to attack you because your frequency has shifted. You've been upgraded to a high-definition spirit in a standard-definition town. And the system is trying to spit you out because you are no longer compatible with stagnation. And then there are the nights. It's always between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., isn't it? You wake up not groggy, not wanting to hit the snooze button, but eyes wide open, heart racing at 100 beats per minute. A surge of pure adrenaline hits you the moment you open your eyes. You're lying there in the dark, looking at the ceiling fan, and you feel like you're late for a flight at JFK that you haven't even booked yet. This is the restless leg syndrome of the soul. Your spirit is already packed. It's standing at the terminal with its bags checked, waiting for your physical body to catch up. The panic you feel isn't the fear of failing. It's the terror of staying. It's the realization that if you spend one more month in this comfort zone, you aren't just playing it safe, babe. You are beginning to rot. You might be asking yourself, am I just being ungrateful? Am I just going through a midlife crisis? Why can't I just be happy with the white picket fence and the steady paycheck? Stop gaslighting yourself. Gratitude is about appreciating what you have, but obedience is about moving when the cloud moves. You are trying to bless what I have already marked as finished. You are trying to perform CPR on a season that has already had its funeral. The friction you feel with your manager, the sudden coldness from your friend group, the way your old coping mechanisms, the gym, the happy hours, the Netflix marathons don't work anymore. That's not the devil. That's my mercy making you miserable so that you don't end up destroyed. I am making your nest full of thorns because I didn't create you to be a trophy on a shelf. I created you to be an eagle that dominates the sky. There is a powerful principle hidden in the old scrolls, arise and depart, for this is not your rest. In modern terms, the lease is up. The building is being condemned. You are trying to find minutia, that place of safety and permanence, in a location that is now tame or toxic to your growth. If you stay in a polluted place, it won't just make you uncomfortable. It will bring Chevelle a sore destruction. That word Chevelle in the original text implies a tightening rope, a snare, that pressure in your chest. That's the rope. I'm not being cruel by making you uncomfortable. I'm cutting the rope before it strangles you. I assure you, chosen one, there is nothing random about this chaos. You are currently holding the same encrypted map that was handed to the very first pioneers. You are engaging in what is called lek lecha, not just a geographical move, but a journey for yourself. I am essentially saying, if you stay here, you will lose who you are meant to be. You are going for yourself because the version of you that is destined to change the world cannot survive in your father's house, your old neighborhood, or your current tax bracket anymore. But as you stand there at the door of your life, looking out at the unknown, you are about to face the most dangerous trap of all. It's a trap so subtle, so deceptive, that it often looks like righteousness. It's the one thing that has killed more destinies than failure ever could. It's the trap of your own loyalty. You've convinced yourself that staying in this draining, limited environment is a badge of honor. But I'm about to show you why your faithfulness is actually a form of spiritual suicide. Before we move into the actual strategy of how to pack your spiritual bags, we have to deal with the heavy anchors that are keeping your ship docked in a harbor that's about to be hit by a hurricane. Now that you've recognized the smoke, we have to talk about why you're still standing in the burning building. You see, the hardest part isn't realizing you need to leave. It's dealing with the invisible chains that pull you back every time you reach for the door handle. You're currently in a high-stakes tug-of-war between your history and your destiny. And right now, your history is winning because it's playing on your heartstrings. Let's look at the first sign that your season has expired, the grace lift. Think back to when you first landed that corporate job in Manhattan or started that relationship in a small town in Ohio. Even when it was 100 degrees out or you were working 80 hours a week, there was a flow to it. You had this supernatural energy. You were the first one in and the last one out, and you did it with a smile. That was my grace, the divine equipment I gave you for that specific assignment. But look at you now. Lately, every single day feels like you're trying to push a broken-down SUV up a muddy hill in the middle of a thunderstorm. Simple tasks like answering an email or picking up the phone feel like moving mountains. You leave a 10-minute conversation feeling like you just ran a marathon in lead boots. That isn't just burnout, and it's not just getting older. That is the grace lifting. I've removed the oil from the engine because I'm trying to get you to stop driving this car. If you keep forcing it, the engine is going to seize, and you'll be stranded. The second sign is the linguistic shift. This is one of the loneliest parts of being a chosen one in America. You wake up one day and realize that you and the people you've known for a decade are speaking two completely different languages. You're talking about vision, growth, and what's next, the language of the future. They are talking about gossip, complaints, and remember when the language of the past. You try to share a new idea at the dinner table, and they look at you like you've grown a second head. You find yourself constantly editing your soul, dumbing down your dreams, or putting on a mask just to keep the peace during Sunday brunch. You feel like a foreigner in your own living room. This isn't an accident. It's the Tower of Babel effect. I am confusing the language of those around you to force you out of a room where you've become too comfortable being small. And then there's the holy irritation. You've become intolerant of things you used to ignore. The way the floorboards creak, the route you take to work, the way your partner chews their food, it's all starting to grate on your nerves. You feel like a golden eagle being forced to live in a parakeet cage. Every time you try to stretch your own wings, you hit the bars and it makes you angry. Most people will tell you that you're being difficult or sensitive. I'm telling you that irritation is a gift. It's the thorns I've placed in your nest. If the nest stayed soft, you'd stay a chick forever. I'm making your current reality unbearable because I love you too much to let you die in a cage. But even with these signs screaming at you, there is a dark, heavy anchor holding you back. Guilt. This is the heaviest bag in your luggage. There is a voice in your head. Maybe it sounds like your mother in Florida or your ex-partner whispering that choosing yourself makes you a bad person. It tells you, if I leave this job, the company will fold. Or if I move across the country, my family will fall apart. You've confused being a savior with being a source. Listen to me, you are not their source. I am. By staying in a place I've told you to leave, you aren't helping them. You're enabling their dysfunction. You are a life support machine for a situation that I have already declared dead. You are propping up a structure that needs to fall so it can be rebuilt correctly. Your loyalty is actually a blockade preventing them from having their own encounter with me. Once you push past the guilt, you're going to hit the fear of the wilderness. This is the primal American fear of survival. You look at your paycheck, your 401k, and your health insurance. And then you look at the door I'm opening, and all you see is a void. You're terrified that if you let go of Egypt, you'll starve in the desert. You're like a trapeze artist swinging high above the circus floor. You're holding onto the bar of security. I've swung the next bar, the bar of destiny, toward you. But there is a split second, a terrifying, breath-snatching moment where you have to let go of the old bar and hang in midair with nothing to hold on to. You think that gap is where you die. I'm telling you, the gap is where you become divine. Think about the Israelites. They complained in the desert because they missed the flesh pots of Egypt. They preferred being slaves with a full stomach over being free with a little uncertainty. They wanted the onions and garlic of their prison, but they didn't realize that manna never falls in Egypt, as long as they stayed in a human system of supply. I withheld the supernatural supply. You're asking me to show you the money before you quit the gym. You're asking me to show you the new community before you leave the toxic one. It doesn't work that way. The manna is geographically located in the wilderness. If you want the miracle, you have to leave the mall. You have to create a vacuum in your life that only heaven can fill. But I have to warn you, the moment you decide to move, the very second your spirit agrees to pack its bags, you are going to trigger a silent security alarm in the enemy's camp. He doesn't care if you're miserable, he only cares if you're moving. As long as you're stagnant, you aren't a threat, but a chosen one on the move is a dangerous weapon. In the next 72 hours, as you process this message, you are going to experience a coordinated psychological counterattack. The enemy is going to deploy 7 anchors of hell designed to hook into your deepest insecurities and chain you to the floor. Most people snap the first few, but it's the third and fourth ones that usually catch them, because those are the ones that don't look like attacks at all. They look like common sense. They look like protection. If you don't know how to identify these anchors, you will miss your window of departure and end up stuck in the rubble of a collapsing season. You need to know exactly what's coming so you can step over the traps without breaking your stride. Because the enemy isn't just trying to make you stay. He's trying to make sure you're still in the city when the fire starts to fall. Are you ready to see the first 3 chains that are about to be wrapped around your ankles? And more importantly, do you want to know the secret to shattering them before they take hold? Listen, we've talked about the internal shifts, but now we need to talk about the external warfare. The moment your spirit says yes to the move, a silent alarm rings in the enemy's headquarters. You have to understand the rules of engagement in this realm. Nobody shoots at a parked car. If you're sitting still, stagnant in that dead-end cubicle in downtown Chicago, or rotting in that toxic relationship in a quiet suburb of Atlanta, you aren't a threat. But the second you decide to pack your bags, the second you decide to walk away from the good enough to find the great, I've promised you become a moving target. And a moving target is a danger to the kingdom of darkness. Over the next 72 hours, as you process this divine eviction notice, you aren't just going to feel a sense of peace. You are going to encounter a coordinated psychological counterattack. The enemy is going to deploy what I call the 7 anchors of hell. These aren't just bad days or bad luck. These are strategic, precision-guided traps designed to hook into your deepest American insecurities and chain you to the floor so you miss your flight to destiny. Most people snap the first chain, but the second one usually makes them stumble. And by the third one, they're crawling back to the safety of their prison. The first anchor is the anchor of financial panic. This is the oldest weapon in the arsenal because, let's be honest, it works on almost everyone. You make the decision to quit that soul-crushing bomb or walk away from that business partnership, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the transmission on your car blows. Your property taxes in California jump through the roof, or a major client suddenly ghosts you. A wave of cold, paralyzing terror washes over you as you look at your bank balance. The enemy starts whispering directly into your ear, using the logic of scarcity to override the logic of faith. He says, "Look at the numbers. You're being irresponsible. God wants you to be prudent, not reckless. If you leave now, you'll be on the street in 3 months." He wants you to believe that your paycheck is your provider and that the company logo on your badge is your source of life. This is exactly what happened to the Israelites. They were free from Pharaoh, but the second their stomachs growled in the desert, they started hallucinating about the free fish and cucumbers they had in Egypt. Think about that they were willing to trade their freedom for a salad. The enemy is trying to sell you a cucumber right now. He's dangling a little bit of security in exchange for your birthright. You have to realize that financial panic is a smokescreen. Your job isn't your source. I am. I don't bounce checks, and I don't have budget cuts. In your mind, I want you to see that chain of panic wrapped around your ankle, and I want you to see me holding the key. The second anchor is even more painful because it hits you where you live, emotional blackmail. The moment you decide to upgrade your life, watch what happens to the people around you. Suddenly, your best friend from high school has a crisis. Your mother calls you with a guilt trip about how you're changing or acting like you're better than everyone else. The enemy whispers through their voices, trying to trigger your savior complex. He wants you to feel like a traitor. He wants you to believe that your obedience to me is a betrayal of them. You've worn your suffering like a badge of honor for years, propping up everyone else's dysfunction at the expense of your own soul. You think you're being faithful, but you're actually being a hostage. If your growth offends someone else's stagnation, let them be offended. You cannot save a drowning person if you let them pull you under the water with them. The text message that makes you feel guilty, the family drama that erupts the day you plan to focus on your new business, that's not a coincidence. It's a strategic distraction. You have to take the sword of the Spirit and sever that ungodly umbilical cord. You are responsible for your obedience, not their happiness. Then comes the third anchor, the one that attacks from the inside, the identity crisis. This is the voice of the accuser in your own head. You decide to step out, and suddenly a voice says, "Who do you think you are? Look at your track record. Remember that failed business in 2018. Remember that messy divorce? You aren't qualified for this new level. You're just going to embarrass yourself in front of everyone." The enemy starts playing a highlight reel of your greatest failures, trying to make you identify with your history so you can't identify with your destiny. But here is the secret, Rit. The enemy only attacks your identity when you are about to step into your authority. If you were truly a failure, he wouldn't waste the breath to remind you. The intensity of the accusation is proof of the magnitude of the promotion. He's trying to get you to disqualify yourself so he doesn't have to. When that voice says you aren't enough, you tell it, "You're right, I'm not, but the God inside me is more than enough." These first three anchors, financial panic, emotional blackmail, and identity crisis, are loud. They scream, they're aggressive, and because they're loud, they're actually easier to fight if you know what they are. But the enemy has a fourth anchor, and this is the one that worries me most for you. It's the silent killer. It doesn't come as a bill or an insult. It doesn't come as a fight or a failure. In fact, it comes looking like an answered prayer. It comes looking like a gift from heaven. But it's actually a golden handcuff designed to lock you into this level of average forever. It is the most sophisticated trap in the American spiritual landscape because it appeals to your desire for comfort. If you don't recognize this fourth anchor, You will fall asleep in the snow just as you are reaching the summit. You'll think you've finally found peace, but you've actually just found a more comfortable prison cell. Do you want to know what this silent trap looks like before it closes around your wrists? And are you ready to learn the packing list of what you must burn before you cross the state line into your new life? As you sit there feeling the weight of these chains starting to loosen, I'm going to show you how to perform a spiritual audit, because you can't walk into a mansion carrying the garbage of a trailer park. You're moving. Yes, but what you take with you is just as important as where you're going. Let's look at the keep pile and the burn pile, because your survival in the next 30 days depends on your ability to travel light. Now we've exposed the loud, aggressive chains, the ones that scream in your face like a debt collector or a toxic relative. But as your director in this spiritual journey, I have to warn you about the silent killer. This fourth anchor is the most dangerous trap in the American dream. It is the anchor of counterfeit peace. Think about this. You finally make the decision to walk away from that soul-crushing firm in Chicago. You've packed your bags. You have made your peace with the move. Suddenly, Tom, for the first time in 6 months, the chaos stops. Your boss, who has been a nightmare for 3 years, suddenly walks into your office with a Starbucks and asks how your weekend was. Your partner, who has been cold and distant, suddenly wants to book a weekend getaway to the Hamptons. The atmosphere becomes strangely, unnervingly calm, and the voice in your head starts whispering, maybe I was wrong. Maybe things are finally getting better. Maybe I don't need to leave after all. Look, God is healing this place. No, he is not. That is not the piece of gum. That is the piece of the graveyard. The enemy has simply called a ceasefire to trick you into dropping your guard. He knows that if he keeps attacking you, he'll only push you out the door faster. So he switches tactics. He puts a pillow in your prison cell. He makes the cage feel like a cradle. Do not fall asleep in the snow just because you feel a sudden warmth. That is the final stage of hypothermia before you freeze to death. If the peace you are feeling makes you passive instead of powerful, it's a sedative, not a blessing. Wake up. The calmness is a snare. But if you stay awake through the numbness, the enemy plays his most sophisticated card, the good option. This is for the high achievers. The enemy knows he can't stop you from moving anymore, so he decides to change your direction. Just as you're about to launch your own business or move to that new city for your calling, a headhunter calls. It's a job offer from a rival company. It's 20% more money, a better title, and it's safe. Your flesh screams, look at God, he provided. But your spirit feels a sharp check in your chest. Why? Because that job is just a refurbished version of your Egypt. It's an Ishmael, a human solution born of your own effort, sent to distract you from Isaac, the true promise. The enemy wants you to settle for good so you never reach great. He wants you to take a detour that looks like a shortcut. Ask yourself, does this require faith? Or does it just offer safety? If it feels too safe, it's likely a golden handcuff. Then comes the anchor of isolation. You look around your neighborhood in the suburbs of Denver or your friend group in Austin, and you realize nobody else is moving. Nobody else hears the music you're marching to. The enemy whispers, look at them. They're happy with the 9 to 5 and the weekend barbecues. Why can't you just be normal? You're the problem. You're the black sheep. He's trying to use your primal fear of being separated from the herd to drive you back into the crowd. But here's the truth. Isolation is not a punishment. It's a dark room. God cannot develop the high-resolution picture of your future in the glaring light of public opinion. He needs you alone. When you feel lonely, you aren't being rejected, you're being set apart. The crowd isn't invited to the VIP meeting where your strategy is being downloaded. Finally, the seventh chain, the anchor of doubt. Did God really say, it's the oldest gaslighting trick in history, in the next 72 hours? You will have a moment where you question your own sanity. You'll think you're just being emotional or impulsive. But doubt isn't the absence of faith. It's evidence that your faith is threatening the kingdom of darkness. If you were wrong, the enemy wouldn't waste time trying to convince you that you're crazy. He'd just let you walk off a cliff. The fact that he is working overtime to make you second-guess yourself proves your first guess was a direct hit. Now, look down at your feet. In your mind, I want you to see these 7 rusted, heavy chains. And I want you to see yourself holding a sword forged in the fires of everything you have survived. Strike them, break the panic, sever the blackmail, shatter the doubt, feel the weight falling off your body. You are free, and this is the part where most people fail. You cannot walk into your new life carrying the garbage of your old one. You've broken the chains, but are you still carrying the luggage? We have to perform a spiritual packing audit right now. Most Americans try to carry their entire history into their future, and they wonder why they collapse before they hit the state line. Imagine 2 piles on the floor of your soul. On the left is the burn pile. On the right is the keep pile. First, throw your need to be understood onto the burn pile. You've spent 5 years trying to explain your vision to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. If you carry that need for validation into your new season, you will turn every new relationship into a courtroom where you are the defendant. Burn it. You don't need to be understood. You just need to be obedient. Next, throw in the victim identity. Yes, they hurt you. Yes, the company cheated you. But if you walk into the promised land identifying as a victim, you will subconsciously seek out new oppressors to validate your story. You cannot conquer Canaan if you still think like a slave in Alabama. Now, look at the keep pile. It's small, but it's heavy gold. Keep the lesson, but burn the pain. Keep the discernment, that street smarts of the spirit that lets you spot a wolf from a mile away. Keep the anointing, the oil that was crushed out of you during the nights you spent crying on the floor. That oil is the fuel for your next engine. Before you step across that threshold, there is one final, non-negotiable micro-ritual. It's the shaking of the dust. In the ancient world, dust represented ownership and legal rights. If you walk out of that toxic office or that dead relationship and you still carry their dust, their energy, their words, their accusations, you will contaminate the holy ground of your future. Right now, in your spirit, I want you to stomp your feet once, twice, 3 times. Visualize that gray, heavy dust of disappointment flying off your boots. You are breaking the soul tie with the soil of your past. You are declaring, I take nothing from this place but the glory of God. You feel that your feet are light and the static cling is gone. You are standing at the edge of the nest. And I know you're looking at the 2,000-foot drop and wondering if your wings will hold. But you have to understand the prophetic timeline of what happens the second your feet leave the ledge. You aren't just moving to a better version of your old life. You are entering a 30-day window of supernatural recalibration. Do you want to see the flight plan for the next 4 weeks? Because if you don't know what week 1 looks like, the silence will make you turn back before you ever see the sunrise. Let's look at the 30-day forecast, because the Raven is already on its way to meet you at the next coordinate. You're standing at the ledge now. The bridge behind you is engulfed in flames, and for the first time in your life, there is no plan B. You're looking out at the vast, terrifying horizon of the American wilderness, and you're wondering if you're falling or flying. Listen to me. Chosen when you are midair, you've been pushed out of the comfort of your nest in the suburbs of Seattle or that high-rise in Charlotte because I love you too much to let you die as a hatchling. You were created to dominate the sky, but you can't learn to catch the thermal currents while you're sitting on a silk pillow. You only learn to fly when the wind is screaming past your face at 60 miles per hour and the ground is rushing up to meet you. That free fall, that isn't a disaster. That is the mechanism of your promotion. As your director in this divine transition, I'm giving you the flight plan for the next 30 days. If you don't know the turbulence patterns, you'll try to turn back the second the clouds get dark. But there is no turning back. Your old life has already been marked for demolition, and the coordinates for your provision have already shifted. Here is your 30-day spiritual forecast. Week 1 is the week of silence. This is where most people break. You expect that the moment you quit that job or walk away from that toxic dynamic, the heavens will part and a choir will sing. But usually, the first 7 days are deafeningly quiet. Your phone stops ringing. The inbox stays empty. You sit in your new, sparsely furnished apartment or your quiet office, and the silence is so heavy it feels like a physical weight. The enemy will use this silence to scream at you. He'll whisper, "You made a mistake. You've ruined your life. Look, God isn't here." Do not listen to that lie. This silence isn't abandonment. It's a spiritual detox. I am letting the static of your old season, the gossip, the stress, the constant noise of Egypt drain out of your ears so you can hear my new frequency. This is a holy recalibration. Do not fill the silence with mindless scrolling or desperate phone calls to people you already left. Sit in it. Let the silence do its work. Week 2 is the week of the pop quiz. The enemy sees that you survived the silence, so now he tests your resolve. In week 2, expect a ghost from the past to reappear. Your old boss, the one who made your life a living hell for 5 years, suddenly calls you with a job offer and a $20,000 signing bonus. The ex-partner who drained your bank account suddenly sends a 3-page text about how much they've changed. This is the universe asking you, are you serious? Are you a pioneer or just a runaway? If you engage with that old door in week 2, you reset your entire timeline. You have to look at those invitations and say, that's a beautiful grave, but I'm not a corpse anymore. Keep your eyes on the horizon. Week 3 is the week of divine connection. This is when the shift happens. Once you pass the silence of week 1 and the test of week 2, your new frequency begins to attract new signals. In week 3, pay attention to the random encounters. You'll be at a coffee shop in Denver or a grocery store in Austin, and you'll overhear a conversation that sounds like it was ripped from your journal. You'll meet a stranger who speaks the exact language of your future. These are the ravens arriving at your new coordinates. They are carrying the supplies and the strategies you need for the next level. Do not despise the small beginnings. A 10-minute conversation in week 3 is worth 10 years of networking in your old season. Week 4 is the week of the flow. This is where the wind finally catches under your wings. You stop flapping frantically and you start soaring. The anxiety that's been sitting on your chest like a lead plate for months finally lifts. You wake up on a Tuesday morning and you realize you don't feel dread anymore. You feel anticipation. You look back at the nest you were so terrified to leave and you realize it wasn't a sanctuary. It was a cage. You realize the safety you clung to was actually slow-motion suicide, and the danger you feared was actually your birthright. But as you soar into this new reality, I have one final life or death warning. Do not look back. I'm not just saying don't go back. I'm saying don't even glance over your shoulder. Do not stalk your old life on social media. Do not replay the what-ifs while you're lying in bed. When you look back, you twist your spiritual neck and you lose your flight path. Lot's wife didn't walk back to the city. She just looked back, and that one glance froze her in time. She became a pillar of salt, frozen, lifeless, and stuck in a season that was already burning. You are a forward-moving creature. Your eyes are in the front of your head for a reason. Now we have reached the final activation. This isn't just a video you're watching. This is a legal proceeding in the courts of heaven. We are going to seal this move right now so that no devil in hell and no doubt in your mind can undo it. Father, in the mighty and all-powerful name of Jesus, I stand before you on behalf of this chosen one. You know the exact street address where they are sitting right now. You saw the tears they cried at 3 o'clock a.m. when the panic felt like it was going to stop their heart. You saw them sitting by that dry brook, wondering why the supply stopped. But I thank you, God, that their yes has been registered in eternity by the authority of the word. I declare that the paralysis is broken. The glue that held their feet to the floor of Egypt is dissolved right now. I bind the 7 anchors of hell, the financial panic, the emotional blackmail, the identity crisis, and the counterfeit peace. They have no more legal right to hold this soul. I declare that the dust of their past has been shaken off. They are traveling light. They are carrying no bitterness, no victimhood, and no need for the validation of people who never saw their value anyway. I prophesy over their next 30 days. I decree that the ravens are already in the air. The widow at Zarephath has already been commanded to sustain them. The money is in the move. The healing is in the move. The peace is in the move. I seal their spirit with the courage of a lion and the vision of an eagle. They will not look back. They will not settle for good enough when you have called them to great. Heaven is asking you one last time, chosen one, are you willing to walk away from the known to find the divine? If your answer is yes, I want you to open your mouth and say it out loud in your room, in your car, or wherever you are. Say, I am ready. I am moving. I will not look back. Did you feel that shift in the atmosphere that was the seal of the Holy Spirit, locking your decision into the records of eternity? The contract with your old season is shredded. The bridge is gone. You are authorized. You are commissioned. You are free. Now, do not just click away. Do not jump into the next video or scroll through the comments. I want you to sit in this silence for exactly 60 seconds. Let the weight of this glory settle on your heart. Let the reality of your freedom sink into your bones. You aren't leaving a prayer, you are leaving a prison. Walk out with your head high. Stay tuned for our next transmission, where we will dive deeper into the eagle's mindset and how to navigate the high-altitude challenges of your new territory. Ensuring that you don't just reach your destiny, you own it. The 60 seconds of silence you just experienced wasn't just a pause, it was the first minute of your new life. You've let the dust settle, and for the first time in years, you can see clearly. You aren't that person who was terrified of a bank balance or desperate for a manager's approval anymore. That version of you died the moment you struck the match on that bridge. The story of the chosen one isn't just about moving from point A to point B. It's about the transformation that happens in the in-between. It's about realizing that the security you thought you had in your old life was actually a slow-motion catastrophe. And the uncertainty you're stepping into is actually the safest place on earth because it's the only place where God can truly show off his provision. As you walk out of this spiritual prison, remember this. The world will try to lure you back with the onions and garlic of Egypt. It will offer you comfortable cages and golden handcuffs. But you are an eagle now. You've felt the wind beneath your wings, and you can never be satisfied with the ground again. Your destiny is calling. The ravens are already in flight, and the horizon is wide open. Don't just move, soar. The core of this journey is divine eviction. It teaches us that discomfort, anxiety, and the drying up of our resources are not punishments from God, but a mercy. It is the universe's way of making us allergic to stagnation so that we are forced to move toward our higher purpose. Lessons for the audience. Trust the discomfort. When grace lifts from a situation, stop trying to fix it. It's an expiration notice, not a problem to be solved. Safety is an illusion. True security isn't found in a steady paycheck or a familiar environment. It's found in your alignment with your calling. Travel light. You cannot carry the bitterness, the dust, or the need for validation from your past into your future. Success requires a clean vessel. The provision is in the move. You will rarely see the manna while you are still sitting in Egypt. The miracle only manifests once you step into the wilderness. If this message resonated with your spirit and you're ready to move into your new season, let us know you're with us. Comment 999 if you love this video and you're ready to soar. Comment 0 if you didn't quite feel it. Let us know how we can make our content even more impactful for your journey. Or leave a comment sharing your own story. Your perspective might be the raven someone else needs today. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support is the fuel that keeps us creating these transmissions. We are in this journey together. Stay bold. Stay chosen. We'll see you in the next one.